Hey, what's going on? Luke here. The 2023 NRL season is coming on very, very quickly, and I thought it'd be fun to jump on here and do a video going over my top 5 fullbacks heading into the 2023 season. Now, this is obviously not taking into account the actual season. Like, if you're coming here towards the back end of the season, you're going, can't believe he'd have this guy so high, or can't believe this guy isn't on the list, or whatever. Like, it's just because it's at the start of the season. It's going into 2023, so we're basing this off 2022, basically. So, me going over my top 5. Normally, when I do these top 5s, I don't really do them in order. However, this one I am going to be doing in order. It's one of the few ones that I'm probably going to do like this. And keep in mind, later on, I will do a video where I'll do like a tier list. I've seen BKR Sports do the tier list, and I've done them in the past as well, and they're always fun to do. So I will eventually do one on the fullbacks as well, but for this video, we're just going to be purely going over the top 5 fullbacks going into the 2023 NRL season. Could be up for debate, obviously up for debate. Leave in the comment section below who are your top 5. But this is my top 5, so this is purely subjective, purely who I think. And you know, at the end of the season, we'll probably see, you know, a guy like Jake Averillo in at number 1 after the Bulldogs win the comp, but okay, definitely not. So starting off in the number 5 position, I have Clint Gutherson. Now, he is someone who I feel like is quite controversial in terms of where do you actually put Gutho on these lists? You know, King Gutho, loved by Parramatta. He is the captain, great leadership, very, very consistent. But he's not someone who, in my opinion, he's not like a game breaker or a person who particularly wins games. But he is so consistent, and he is a very, very good player. He's got a lot of good players around him. You guys like your Dylan Browns and Mitchell Moses in the past, Reid Marnie, now Josh Hodgson. He's a part of a very, very good spine. And you can argue that he's probably the most important part of that spine, I guess. But also, you have like Mitchell Moses play for New South Wales. You have Dylan Brown, who's probably the best young talent in the game, apart from like Suaalii or someone like that. They've got a very, very good spine to work with. So Gutho has a lot of help around him, but you can't really fault his efforts. You can see even in the grand final, like he's still trying his guts out. You know, he's played for New South Wales himself. Is he a guy that I look at as someone who's, like I said, going to be the top-notch fullback? Never. Like, I feel like the peak of him as a fullback is right where he is right now, probably about number 5. He's probably going to stay there. That's probably where he's always been. That's probably where he always will be. Plenty of players who come and go in terms of fullbacks and all that sort of stuff. A guy you're probably going to see who isn't on the list, Ryan Pappenhausen, is someone I would have had sort of towards the top in this list for sure. But, you know, we've seen an injury and he's gone. So Gutherson is someone who's there every year. Like, he's just always there. So I'll give him that. But yeah, he is someone that some people you talk to and they'll say Gutherson mid, super average. Then you got other people who are like top notch, upper echelon of fullback. So I'm sure it's somewhere in the middle, and that's why I've got him in at number 5. Next up is someone who I never thought would be on this list. At number 4, we have Dylan Edwards from the Penrith Panthers. Clive Churchill, medal winner. Very, very consistent. You can sort of argue all the points I just made about Gutherson and say kind of similar for Dylan Edwards, apart from like the longevity. Now, Gutherson's been around for a little bit longer, but Dylan Edwards has been playing first grade consistently for 3 or 4 years now, and he's been in a premiership winning side the last 2 years, a grand final appearance the year before that, and then obviously had like his rookie season. Now, for me, it was like for a little bit, like it wasn't so clear cut that Dylan Edwards was going to be the guy at Panthers, or at Penrith, I should say. Stephen Crichton obviously was putting his hand up to play fullback. He's now signed elsewhere, so it shows that the Panthers have put their faith in Dylan Edwards as being the man. He played in the grand final with basically a broken foot. Absolutely killed it. Could have won the Clive Churchill that year. Obviously won it last year. Seems like a big match player. Again, he's not a guy that I look at as someone who's going to win you the game. There's a lot of talk about him playing for Australia and all that sort of stuff. And I feel like it's very like reactionary. Like, you compare them to the other guys who are on this list, even like your Pappenhausens and such, who aren't on it this year. There's plenty of guys who, in my opinion, can win you a game. But Dylan Edwards definitely has been winning games. Just helps that he plays in the best team. So whether he could do this at other clubs, I'm not so sure. But very, very good player. Very, very solid. Like I said, does all the same stuff that I just talked about Gutherson. Probably an underrated ball player. A lot of the talk is he has no ball playing ability, which I think is a bit crazy because obviously he does. Might not be top notch, but he's still got it. You know, he's got a decent amount of speed. He just pops up in the right places. Safe as at the back. Like, great defense. Great on the high ball. You can't really fault him on anything. You might not say he's the best at anything, but you can't fault him on anything either. There's nothing that like you look at and you're like, oh, there's a flaw in Dylan Edwards' game. Just a very, very good player, very consistent and perfect for the Panthers, perfect for their system. Like I said, it might not be great in some other sides, but in this Panthers side, he fits in perfectly. And I've got him in at number 4 for that reason, just because he's been so good the last couple of years. So I had to chuck him in here somewhere. So number 5 and number 4 have been guys who have been super consistent. We've got them out of the way. We're going to be going with the game breakers, the X Factor guys now. At number 3, we have Latrell Mitchell. I feel like you probably would have thought that was coming, maybe just depending on what spot he was in. But I think we all knew Latrell was going to be in this list. Latrell is just an outstanding player. A little bit up and down in terms of consistency, going from one end where I'm talking about the other guys being so consistent, where a lot of the talk with Latrell is that he's not consistent enough at fullback, but when he's on, he is dead set unstoppable, and that's a fact. When he's on, you can argue he is the best fullback. It's just a matter of you don't see it every week, but when he went over to America and he did all the rehab, he came back, in my opinion, a different player, a better player. And maybe this whole time it's sort of just been his body hasn't been able to hold up to the fullback role. Obviously, made his name in the centres. Played a little bit of fullback at the Roosters, but made his name in the centres with Joey Manu. Obviously, transitioned to fullback when he signed with the Rabbitohs, signed a big contract. Obviously, a gun fullback. I don't know if he'll ever be someone who will be looked at as the actual best fullback in the game, but he definitely has the ability to do it. He's someone who I could say, yes, he could win a Dally M medal, but also he's someone I could say, will never ever win it as well. Like, he's just one of those guys. Don't know what you're going to get with Latrell Mitchell. But we also know that we're going to get some entertaining highlights. So I'll say that much. He might not be the best fullback, but he might be one of the most entertaining fullbacks. I'll say that. Love to put a shot on. He's so big. He's so strong. A lot of similarities to Greg Inglis. When he played fullback, obviously played at the Rabbitohs as well. So there's going to be the instant comparisons, and he's always got it his whole career. But the guy's a freak. There's a reason New South Wales struggled without him last year, and even though when he was playing in the centres, but just with how he played, he sort of was that extra fullback anyways. But he's so damaging. When he wants to score, he will score. You can't stop him. So yeah, New South Wales missed him. The Rabbitohs missed him. And you definitely see a difference when he plays and when he doesn't. So Latrell Mitchell is number 3. Speaking of a player that a team misses when he's not there, Tom Trbojevic, he is number 2. We saw it with New South Wales. We saw it with Manly for sure. Tom Trbojevic is Manly. Tom Trbojevic, you can argue, is New South Wales. You can argue he's number 1. I haven't put him at number 1 purely just because of his injuries. Realistically, he is the best fullback in terms of when he's on and when he's fit and he's playing well. You can't stop him. You just can't stop him. I was just talking about Latrell Mitchell not being able to stop him. You can't stop Tom Trbojevic. If he just is like, I want to score, he's going to run through your whole side. And there's just nothing you can do. He did it when he won the Dally M medal. Like, he carried that Manly side. There's sort of the argument that Manly had no right to be as good as what they were that season. And we saw that last year. They didn't make the 8. But they were a top 4 side. And Tom Trbojevic pretty much carried them. Let's be real. They've got a couple of good players in there. Like your DCEs and even Foreign and such. But dude, he was ripping up teams, like, single-handedly. He was running up scorelines on teams. Like, I know it was like a different season in 2021. It was a weird one. Every game seemed to be a blowout to some degree, but Tom Trbojevic was unbelievable. You just couldn't stop him, and I feel like last year would have been the same if he didn't get injured. And I feel like if he doesn't get injured this year, obviously he already has, but if Manly are going to do anything this year, especially with the new coach Seabold, it's going to be through Tom Trbojevic, and everybody knows that. I know he's come out and said, we're not a one-man team, and, we've got plenty of other good players. That is true. They've got some other good players, but Tom Trbojevic is the man, and everything revolves around him, as it should, because he is that good. He's got the size, he's got the speed. It's like something that doesn't get talked about is just how big he is. He's so lanky. Like, watch his stride lengths. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Go and compare him to all the other fullbacks on this list. He just sort of quite literally stands over all of them, but he just even, like, looks different, like, in terms of the build and such. Like, he's so lanky, but he's so big and strong. And, yeah, dude, love Tom Trbojevic. Great player. Hopefully get to see him in the Sky Blue this year. Basically, we need him. We need him to win. And that's as simple as that. And coming in at number 1 of the number 1s, funnily enough, James Tedesco. I think we all knew that was coming when I didn't include Pumpenhausen. I already told you he wasn't going to be on this list. When Trbojevic got named, I feel like you just knew. It had to be James Tedesco. Is there anyone else who was going to be? He's someone who, it's funny that I should mention this because I'm talking about Tom Trbojevic being injury prone. James Tedesco was also talked about as being injury prone when he was at the Tigers. And even then, like, you think it was so long ago these days. He's been so consistent for so many years. I think what the telling point with James Tedesco is the fact that I've got Latrell in this list, and I've got Tom Trbojevic in this list. And yet, for me, there's really no debate on whether James Tedesco is going to be the fullback for New South Wales or Australia. Like, that's how good he is. There's plenty of great fullbacks around. I just named 5 of them. Pappenhausen, you got Brimson is another good one. I don't know, Drinkwater is gun for the Cowboys. There's a lot of good fullbacks going around, and Tedesco has just been the best for a long, long time. Now, you can argue that, like, Trbojevic at his peak is probably better, and same for Latrell and that sort of stuff, but the beauty of James Tedesco is he can produce those 10 out of 10 performances, but he does them every week. It's not just like, a couple times a season, or he's there for half a season, he gets injured. Like, the dude is there every week. He leads the Roosters well, leads New South Wales well, leads Australia well. The guy is just a rock in any side that he's in. You can always count on James Tedesco putting in 110%. There's just no debate on this one for me. James Tedesco is the best fullback. And like I said, at times others have been probably the best. They've been the most informed fullback, but James Tedesco doesn't have to worry about form. He's always playing good. There's no drop-offs. He just has this high level, this high ceiling, and he's always there. He's always reaching for it. Fantastic player. He's so elusive. He's got the speed. He's strong. Great ball player. Probably the best ball player out of all the fullbacks, in my opinion. Literally, I was talking about you can't fault some of these players. James Tedesco is someone you quite literally can't fault. Some of the others I've talked about as being, they're really consistent and that's why they're on the list. And then there's others who I've talked about them being X factors and they just don't have the consistency or they can't stay on the field. James Tedesco has all of that and more. So, yeah, that's really all that needs to be said. James Tedesco is the number one of the number ones. Anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap things up here. Hopefully you did enjoy that one. If you did, make sure you go ahead and smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Also, make sure to use the notification bell. Don't rely on those sub boxes. They are super, super dodgy. Use the notification bell. Don't miss my videos. It's as simple as that. Click the little bell. Done deal. You know you want to do it. Also, you know you want to go and give me a follow on social media. It's on the screen right now. It's Mr. Luke and YT for the most part. My Facebook's Mr. Luke, but everything else, including Snapchat, including TikTok. I would say Instagram is probably the one I use the most, so chuck me a follow on that. Even TikTok as well. But it's Mr. Luke and YT. Give me a follow, give me an ad. And stay tuned for more content on the channel. Like I said, I'm going to be doing some more sort of lists like this and hopefully some tier lists and obviously Rugby League Live 4. Maybe even Rugby League Live 5 if we're lucky. But yeah, going to be doing a lot more videos in the near future. So stay tuned for that and I'll see you some next one. See yous.